Knowing what I know now, I would still make the same decision, but hopefully a few of my insights and learnings will help you save time, money, and your sanity. You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 391. And today's episode is a behind the scenes look at a huge business growth step I took and how my learnings might help you save time, money, and energy. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey, it's Melanie Benson here, and this is a special episode of Amplify Your Success Podcast because I'm going to take you behind the scenes of a major decision we made in my business last year, early this year, and what we discovered, what we learned that might actually help you make this decision. So here's the backstory. Last year, I became very unhappy with a long-time vendor that I'd worked with that, I'd been with since 2009, Keap software, formerly known as Infusionsoft, with my CRM. And, I was a big fan, represented them to clients for years. And some things started happening, not all their fault, but I became very unhappy with a few of the things that they were, how they were helping me navigate a problem. And I all of a sudden realized I'm probably going to have to leave them. Now, just to go a little bit deeper into it, someone on my team made a really big mistake when we set up my new website and changed servers, and my DNS DMARC stuff didn't get set up right. So first lesson is if you have people who are not really, that's not their key forte, make sure you bring in a specialist to get those things set up because it can have disaster level impact on your email deliverability. Now, once we did resolve that and we understood what was happening, we noticed there was an ongoing issue. And to date, they still haven't really acknowledged that it was something they were doing. There was a really big problem with new people coming onto my list getting automatically unsubscribed. And when we dug into it, the only thing we could figure out was, and somebody let something slip, that they have kind of this stealth practice of people who have bad email addresses getting automatically unsubscribed from Infusionsoft, Keap. Now, I'm only sharing this with you so you understand, because I've had a million people dropping into my DMs going, why would you leave? What was going on? And sharing some similar issues. And as I've kind of revealed this big issue, some people are like, oh my God, never knew what was happening. So I'm not trying to bash them, but just simply to let people know that this was an ongoing problem. They couldn't fix it, wouldn't fix it. And, they weren't really even fully admitting what was happening. And of course, as a company that builds a significant amount of their marketing practice around emailing their community, and having a solid list is a huge part of your authority and influence with other peers, that was a problem. So because of that, and I don't want to get into all the ins and outs of, bad email. Most of these people were not bad emails, but what we have found is that at some point they had unsubscribed from my list or had a practice of subscribing and then unsubscribing quickly from people like myself. They were getting deemed a bad emailer or something like that. So anyway, they had this measure that they kept, and we couldn't beat it. We couldn't get past it. It was a problem. It was creating customer service nightmare. Every time we ran a campaign with a partner, we'd have a bunch of these happening, and people were like, I'm not getting my stuff. And there was no way around it. That is a really great lesson in business all around. If you've got a practice like that, you need to disclose it. If you have standards, you need to stand up for your standards, but if it's compromising your client's ability to do what you are paying them to do, it's a problem. So we left. I struggled with this decision for almost 2 years. It was 2 years that I recognized there was a problem. I did a ton of research with my team on what we were going to look at, what options were available to us, and where we ended up, having evaluated seriously Active Campaign. Some people were like HubSpot's the end all be all. There were several, Entreport, another one, several really great candidates. And when we made a list of the features we really needed and cared about, where we ended up was a white label version of Go High Level called Funnel Gorgeous. And for those of you that are considering making this leap and haven't decided where to go yet, or you're unhappy with where you are, I highly recommend them if you're a Go High Level fan. Their customer service is amazing. Their interface is amazing. They've got 2 levels. One has templates, one does not, which has made having the template levels fantastic. And so question number one that I've been asked, a couple hundred times by my community, what was the price point and is it worth it? So Keap has been, and I know several companies have been raising their prices. Right before we left, we had a price hike with no real reason why, and they were doing another price hike, I heard. So I think it's somewhere around $400 to $500 a month right now for some of the Keap Classic and Basic, Max, I think they call it. Well, the highest level of Go High Level is $129. And then there's like a $89 version, I think. Now, one key learning, and I'll re-encapsulate all the learnings in a minute, but a key learning about going to Go High Level is you're getting basic functionality and you're paying very small amounts for extras. So just know that even though that sounds like a really sexy price point, and it is a great price point if you're not using a lot of extras, but extras cost extra. So we're probably around 180 to 200, depending on the campaigns we're running. I'll unpack that more in a minute. All right. So we chose Go High Level, and how we got there was through massive recommendations from people who like Go High Level. And there was a lot we had to learn about going to Go High Level. I was really nervous because it was a really big shift in workflow practices and strategy. And the system does not operate like anything else. So I'm going to unpack that in a minute because I think it's really important. Another question I've gotten from so many of you, and thank you for asking these questions. As I said, I was going to record this. People were curious, like, well, what did we get? What is it that's different? If you're considering it, I highly recommend. And again, if you look at the show notes on this page, you will see, or wherever you're listening to this or watching this video, you'll see some links to the tools and the people that I recommend using. I would recommend doing a tour because there's nothing like getting the visual of how it operates to give you a quick glimpse into what you're in for. So here are some of the key features that won us over. First of all, it's got the foundational basics like email marketing. And I know there are other systems out there that do this, but they have a website builder, an opt-in page builder. So there was a lot of templates and things that made it very simple. We don't use all of that. We have started migrating a lot of my opt-in pages and really simple campaigns, simple sales pages to the Funnel Gorgeous system. And yes, it does make it really easy to track and set up. They have really nice, like one-click offers and things like that. So that is really nice to have it all inside one environment. It offers invoicing and it has things like that. So it has a lot of the basics, but where we really got wowed was things like it's integrating forms. So we do a lot of stuff with surveys and opt-in, or not opt-in forms, but we do a lot with, pre-call, forms that people have to fill out. And we have lots of surveys and things that we do with people. And we realized like being able to integrate those forms into the contact record was going to save us a ton of time, a lot of automation. I know there's other ways to do that with different forms, but I really liked how easy the form was able to be integrated with a contact record. Because then anyone on my team has access to information about a contact, what their needs are, what they've said that they want, if they're requesting a consultation with me. So it made it really easy. Now, again, key learning, all of those integrations and automations have to be built out. So that's one of the things we have to talk about. Another key feature that I absolutely loved was their pipelines. Because again, we were having lead management stuff in a lot of different environments, and this allowed us to build really easy visual stages of somebody who was interested in something, becoming a lead, raising their hand, saying, "I'd love to meet with you, Melanie," or even like partners, the stages that we might move through. So we've created pipelines, which are fantastic. So think of it like a really simple sales tracking system. Another thing, and this was a big price savings for us, we use a lot of snippets. Snippets are standard email templates that someone on your team might use on behalf of you and or their role on your team to make sure that they're saying what needs to be said properly. We were using it was like $900 a year for this crazy software that interfaced with Google Chrome. And even though it was helpful, I was like, we're spending a lot of money on this. And then I realized that all of those snippets could be set up in Funnel Gorgeous, game changer. So now all of those snippets cost us no extra money and are being cataloged and in a template library inside of that Funnel Gorgeous environment. So it saves a ton of time, makes sure communication is all standardized. And again, everything can be embedded, really helpful. It has an integrated text feature. It has a membership area. Now, we're not using the membership area. It has a community feature, as well as you can put all of your products or programs or on-demand trainings inside this branded membership area. Now, I've heard it's a little clunky. It doesn't necessarily have the beauty that a lot of people like in their membership areas. So we're not in there. We're still using our old system, but it's there. And it does now have an affiliate system, which I know for a lot of people is super important. It's still clunky. It's new for them. It works okay. If you're a really sophisticated marketer, it might not be enough for you, but it is there. Again, scratching the surface on their key features. They have a lot of things that are integrated and embedded and work really well. And they're always working on bringing new features in. Someone described it to me one time as Go High Level is like the Wild Wild West, where they've taken all of the coolest features from all these different technologies and integrated it into a hub, but they are all separate systems and they have to be taught how to play together. And that's a great way to explain how it works. Now, I could probably spend 2 hours unpacking the learnings and the snafus and what we discovered. And, first of all, I like to call it like putting on the big girl panties and making a really tough decision, because I knew it needed to be done and I knew it was going to be expensive and I knew it was going to be messy and I knew that things were going to break. And it was not what I wanted to do, but it was what I felt like I had to do, because being in that old environment was getting very toxic for me. It was creating a stress level because I was tolerating something that was not helping me accomplish a goal, but the way they were navigating it on the customer service side was not pretty. And I was really disappointed with how they handled it. I kind of felt like the bastard stepchild. And I didn't used to feel that way in the beginning because I had relationships with a lot of the bigwigs in the company at that time. And I was like, yeah, I think they've forgotten who pays their bills. So anyway, I made the big girl decision to leave, and there is never a good time. When I left, it was under the guidance of somebody I thought was helping us with the transition. And I quickly discovered that was not the case. And before I knew it, we had committed and pulled the plug and started the transition without a support team and and there was a lot of learning curve. So my first learning for you is there's never a good time to make growth decisions that are going to be messy, but at some point you just got to pull the plug and go. But I don't recommend doing it 3 weeks before really big campaigns going live, which is what ended up happening. Um, we were kind of sold a vision that it was going to be a lot easier than it really was, and that's on me. I knew it in every fiber of my being, but impatient Melanie was like, let's just do it anyway. And one of the things to keep in mind in this process, and this happens anytime you change technology, is you have to transition your email list. All those contacts have to be moved over in a very specific way, and it takes some time. You have to nurture them, you have to re-engage them. It's not just like a click this one off, click this one on. Like, no, you have to move that list over, and there's a lot of steps involved to make sure that they move over well. And honestly, not everybody did move over. We got a lot of people that moved with us, but you lose some people. And those people are probably not paying attention anyway. So I don't know that it's a horrible thing, but it does kind of hit the ego a little bit. The second big learning is that you really have to have a trusted and experienced resource, especially if you're going into go high level, whatever brand version you use. Again, I can't say enough about the brand that we're working with. They have an amazing database of resources. I was moving so quickly and I was kind of going on a lot of trust. I didn't spend time finding somebody. And I was kind of told, oh, yeah, this is easy to figure out. No, it's not. And I really believe that I did a disjustice to my core team by not getting a specialist in place and getting that handled. I want to give a shout out to my team who really took one in the chin and worked some crazy hours to help get a lot of stuff set up quickly. But I kind of blew them up and it wasn't fair to them. We didn't know what we didn't know. And it took much longer with the learning curve because not only were we changing workflow, we were literally changing how everything functioned and having to rebuild it in this new environment that everything had to be rebuilt from scratch. Big lesson. Okay. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you know it. I definitely didn't know how bad that was going to be. And going forward, again, I would highly recommend that you get someone who's trained and experienced. We worked with a couple different people on different levels. Depends on what you need and how much you need. But I'm going to drop a couple of amazing resources in the notes here. One helped us with our transition, and they work with people on a retainer basis to build new workflows and help you set up your new environments. And I highly recommend it. The other one is who we're working with ongoing because they have a little bit more flexible schedule and setup, and is very personable. Just adore her as well. So I'll hook you up with both of them. They were fantastic to work with. But again, the community that I'm involved in has just been super supportive, really helpful. There's a Facebook group that goes with it. It's been really awesome to work with this company. So get a trained and experienced resource, insight number 2. Number 3, there is a really big learning curve with this software with Go High Level, as I mentioned. And one of the big ones is that oftentimes when you get into a new software, you just kind of move your stuff in and a lot of things are pre-established. So, if you process a payment, it sends you a notice, right? If you have somebody get on your list, it'll send you a notice. So there's a lot of things that are established. In this case, you have to set everything up, every single thing, every automation that has to happen, including task notifications, notifications about somebody filling out a forms, notifications about someone processing payment. All of that has to be set up. That was a huge awareness for us as we got it. It's like, oh, okay, this is very different. We can't expect anything to notify us. Or anything just to function. Everything has to be built. So that's one of the reasons why I highly recommend you get a specialist. And also we learned very quickly that the language and the workflow inside a Go High Level is very different than most other systems. So there's just a bit of a learning curve there. For instance, when you set up emails to go into a campaign of this email goes out, this email goes out, there's some really big differences than what we were used to with Keap. Okay, so it's a little learning curve. I mentioned that you have this base monthly fee, but here's another learning and something that I think is worth knowing. everything's a little extra. So they have some great integrations. So it integrates with almost everything. You could use Zapier, and there's a couple other unique integrations to the Go High Level world. But every time you use them, it costs you something. Every time you use the text messaging, it costs you something. Every time you send an email, it costs you something, unless you're on one of the higher levels. So another big learning, very painful one, was we did not have it set up properly so that we had enough financial bandwidth in our bank, so to speak, and we were running too lean. So we were having emails that didn't get delivered. And when we started looking into it, we were like, oh my gosh, if you run out of money in your bank, and because we were still paying for transactions, then your email is not delivered. And so we were in the middle of a different campaign, discovering that leads were not getting emails about offers. And I was like, oh, okay. So painful learnings. I share them with you so that you know better. If you go with the system, make sure that you either get like you have like all your emails covered with the mail gun level, or you've got enough financial bandwidth in your bank that you're not going to get emails stalled out. Because if they stall out, they don't go back and deploy them when you fill your coffer back up with your bank for emails and transactions. Big learning. And yeah, I was pretty upset when I discovered it. I won't I won't put that under the rug, but I look at this as a really, really huge practice in surrender and checking myself on my impatience. And I will fully own I'm a manifester in human design, if you're familiar with that world. We move at the speed of light, and I've always been that way. And it's oftentimes works against me. It does also help me accomplish more than most people do, but it does cause a lot of things to break. And this was a great learning for me around, okay, Melanie, there are some times when we really need to slow down and let somebody who has more patience take the lead on these things. So big learning. A couple more big learnings that I think was really helpful was recognizing that they have affiliate tracking, but it's not fully fleshed out yet. So if you're going to go with affiliate tracking, there's a couple of tools. As a matter of fact, there's a tool called First Promoter that a lot of people use with their affiliate tracking to make it function better. And you could also just keep using Zapier and plugging into Thrivecart, but it's there and they're working on it. One last thing that was huge, and again, this is the learning curve, basically like we went to Greece and we were trying to learn Greek, right? And we didn't know that the communication workflow inside of the Go High Level environments are very different than in a lot of other environments. I wanted something where everyone on my team could see communication with a contact, and that is possible, which is one of the things I love about Go High Level. But you have to make sure it's set up right. There are some little settings that you have to make sure are in place, as well as when you email out from the system, which all my team does now, you have to have certain settings in place so that the email comes back to the person who sends it. It's not standard. So you can see how it's like everything has to be set up the way you want it. So the nice thing is you've literally got the bones of an extraordinarily powerful machine, but you got to tell the machine how to function so it does what you want it to do. So I'm sure I'm going to think of learnings later that I haven't revealed here. And I'm like, oh, I should have included that. But I got to say, this was a lot of it. And there are so many things that are really powerful about this. And I have heard hundreds of my colleagues moving to Go High Level. Some of them move and then they're not super happy with the white label version that they went through. That's because there's a lot of agencies that can represent Go High Level and sell this under their brand. So take some time to get to know them, find out what kind of customer service, what kind of onboarding they'll help you with, and make sure you've got what you need there. Again, I can't say enough about Go High Level. The link I'm giving you is an affiliate link, but I don't really get a lot from it. I literally would just tell you to use them, whether I was getting an affiliate commission or not, because I truly believe that they are one of the premier companies. And I love, it's a female-owned company. They're some badass chicks, I got to tell you. They are building an amazing infrastructure for digital marketing. I really like what they're doing. I love their messaging. I love everything about them. So anyway, it's there for you if you want it. You might want to check around and see what else is out there, but just make sure you've got really good customer service. And I've heard some nightmares around that. And not all white label companies release all of the features when they come out. So not all of the companies are releasing the features right away. Some of them are holding it back or charging more. And so you just need to do your due diligence. Now, before you make the leap, if you are considering leaving the software you're with, and it's not just Keap, I know a lot of people are unhappy with ClickFunnels and a lot of other different softwares. Here's what I want you to do before you make the leap. And if I was coaching you in $1 Million Authority Mastermind to get to that next level of your business, and you're like, I got to change my software, this is exactly what I would have you do. I want you to make a list of the most important features that the software has to have. And I want you to identify the ones that are must have and the ones that are like to have. And evaluate 2 to 3 options against that list. That's what we did. We went out in the market and we looked at everything. So was price point important? What were the functionalities that were important? We looked at how they handled, list issues, like bad, did they have a practice like auto-subscribing people off a list and things like that? So we looked at a lot of different factors. Look at the key 7 to 10 factors that are important to you. And make sure that what you go to really does have what you need, and you're going to be happy there for a while, and that you have the customer service and you have the resources that will help you integrate quickly. Because what you don't want as a business owner is to tolerate technology that's working against you, making it unprofitable to do business, or basically working against your objectives. Like mine was to build my list. You can't have a software provider that's taking people off your list just because they have a practice around that. And you also want to make sure that you have the support to be successful with it. Okay. So you don't want to be in the weeds. Don't be the person who has to learn it all. And document as you go so that you're documenting how things will work. That's what we learned very quickly is we had to document all of these new practices because everything functioned differently. So definitely do that. Document what you learn as you go. And as a matter of fact, if you're in $1 Million Authority Mastermind, I make those types of SOPs available to you because I want to help shortcut your process if you're going to be using Go High Level. And last, be patient. Okay, know it's a process. Give yourself twice as long as you think it will, and just brace yourself. Brace yourself for the unknown because you can't plan for it all. But if you're tolerating something and you want it to be better, you're going to have to be a little uncomfortable while you get to the new thing. And that goes for business across the board. I hope you found this helpful. If you're listening to this in the audio version and you want to see the video version, I may, by the time this airs, drop some screenshots in so you can get some visuals as I was sharing the different features. We'll link up the YouTube video in the, or the Facebook video in the show notes for you. But I would love to hear from you. Are you making the leap? Who are you going with? What resources and support do you need? And how is this decision setting you up for being the $1 Million Authority, generating 5- and 6-figure revenue months as a recognized authority? All right. Chime in, let me know, and I'll see you next week on the show. Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. Be sure to join us right now in the Amplify Your Authority community at authorityamplifiers.com, and I'll share my 7 proven tips to be a highly paid expert that stands out in a crowded market. Plus, we're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.